Good morning. You're probably asking yourself, Christopher, why are you standing in the middle of a field on this beautiful December day? Well, it felt like as good a time as any to start this new project. And this new project is this. It's a guitar neck. I bummed it off a friend, my good buddy Sam, because I had it in my head that I was going to build a guitar out of plywood. Maybe one of the worst ideas I've ever had, but why don't you come along for the journey anyway? All right, so we talked about the neck. This is a fairly standard Fender. It's a Stratocaster right-handed neck. I, unfortunately, play left-handed, so we're gonna have to make a few modifications. The first thing being the nut, which fortunately on this type of guitar, this should just pop right out. I can flip it around and put it back in place, and I'll have a left-handed setup on the nut. So no additional cost there because we do have a budget in mind for that. The budget for the entire build is $100. We're gonna do our best to keep this under, so we're gonna build this guitar out of plywood that I have here in the shop, a neck that my buddy Sam gave me for nothing, which is from, I believe, a company called All Parts. So it's a Fender licensed neck. So that should be a 25.5-inch scale. The next thing was a body, which I've been playing around with for a few weeks. This is the first thing I came up with, which is a single cut out of some radiata pine that I had here in the shop. The body dimension was wrong, it just looked off to me. So I came up with a second profile, which was this, which was too short. So somewhere in there is a happy medium, and we're gonna start from scratch on that and figure out the correct dimensions for a single cut body to go with this neck. All right, step next. About 20 years ago, I had a Washburn import, just a cheap guitar. Don't remember all the details, but somehow I had it in my head that I was gonna build a guitar back then. So I had taken that guitar apart, stashed everything in a box and forgotten about it. A few weeks ago, I got thinking about it for some reason, said, hey, where are all those parts? I found them. So I've got the neck piece for the bolt on for the neck. It's gonna line up. I already checked with the neck that we've got. A humbucker, old Washburn made by Samson humbucker. Got a single coil, got a jack plate. Got the other electronics as they were cut out, my pots, the switch, which I don't think we're gonna use, neck knobs, and of course, the bridge. This is obviously a tremolo bridge. I've lost the tremolo over the years. I think we're just gonna mod this and make it a hardtail bridge, just the way I'll fix it in and bolt everything down. It won't be a tremolo. I don't need a tremolo, I'm a terrible guitar player. So, here we go on to figuring out the correct body. All right, so the body needs to be 12 3/4 wide. And I need my square. Right here. I have my square. Not to worry, I'm a trained professional. And 16.5 is going to be the total length of the body. All right, so there is our new body blank. That is 16.5 tall, 12 3/4 inch wide. That's going to be something close to a standard Les Paul body dimension. And now we just have to figure out some curvature and make some cuts. So here we go. There is no sponsorship implied here, but I would like to thank the Helpful Hardware Man for all their diligent help, assistance. This is how we make curvature of a guitar. Who knew? So a little trial and error using the Ace 5-gallon bucket and some tape to make our curves. I think we've got pretty well the approximation of the standard cutout we're going to use. So time to run the jigsaw. All right, there we go. We have a single cut body. Just got to figure out the cutaway for there. Here we go. Okay. All right, after a little bit of sanding and a little cleanup, I believe we have the correct dimensions for a single cut bolt neck guitar. So step next is making sure that everything lined up, mount the neck to this and make sure I'm center lined correctly. Going to be pretty crucial. And then we're going to start figuring out some scrap wood to make a top for this. All right, so here we have it. This is going to be the back of the body. I think the basic size and shape is correct. The neck alignment is very close, but we don't have to finalize that until we get the top on and actually route, which I may come up with a jig to do that a little more correctly. But I believe our scale length is correct, or will be. Got to set where the bridge has got to go, so we'll figure that out. I believe the neck is sitting in the correct spot. So far so good. All right, we took a little break to grab a bite to eat, and I went over a few things. So this is the initial body that I cut out that I felt was a little too long, and it turned out it really wasn't. It wasn't wide enough, so it looked a little funny. It's a little longer than it needed to be, but not as much as I had thought. So this is the final product. We've got our center alignment pretty well. We've got our neck placement pretty well. I figured up where the tailpiece has got to go. I'm gonna have to route that out, and I figured out where the body cavity's got to be cut into the back in order for the jack to come in and the volume and tone controls to be put in place. I scalloped a little more of this out for fret access, and I think we basically have an accurate guitar body. So we're on to the next step. All right, here we go. I've got the cavity rough cut out, and I have the recess that's necessary for the tremolo system to go through, even though I'm going to make it a hardtail. It still needs to go through because it's going to be a string through body. And I think we're ready to move on to step next, which is selecting some really cool pine that was harvested in the late 70s, I believe. It's been on the exterior of a house until this past year. I've had it sitting out for a little bit covered up, so we're going to go select a little bit of lumber, run it through the planer, and start figuring out a pretty decent looking top for this thing. So we have here a nice 1.5 inch roughly slab of Carolina pine. Like I said, it was harvested, I believe, in the late 70s. It's got a little warp to it, but it's a good thick piece. So we're going to rip it in half and run it through the saw, get it cleaned up, run it through the planer, get it cleaned up, see if we can't join it together and get ourselves a good looking, well saturated over the years guitar top. All right, we have cut out and planed down our ancient pine. Okay, let's not call it ancient. Not as old as me. Pine. Got it not book matched, but I got it pieced together where we'll have a center line. And I've got a rough cutout for the shape of the guitar, and it's going to sit on top of this. And we're going to be right about 2 inches thick total with the 3/4 plywood, which is actually a little under 3/4. It's probably a 1/16 shy. And then what we got this planed down to, I think it's going to work out really nice. So now we're going to see about getting some glue out and gluing it up and pressuring this so it'll bond together. And we'll go from there once it dries. Sometimes you improvise a clamp. All right. Well, we have done our best to glue this thing up. Hopefully that's going to be a good bond all the way around. We're going to let this thing sit for a couple of days probably. I don't have a nice press like some luthiers are going to have, so we've made do the best we could. So we've got a nice old school pine top glued up, book matched-ish, and we got we have a 2-inch thick guitar body that's going to be ready to be trimmed up and rounded here in a few days, and we'll go from there. So we will see you on the next episode. Take 2.